How's it going, everyone? I am NDSean45,
And I am IrishBenjamin57.
and we are the two Irish brothers. We got a nice little show for you here in store today. First off, let's just, as we usually do, let's just dive right into things. The obvious big news recently for Notre Dame football is they've hired a new coach, defensive backs coach Mike Mickens. As we know, he was a former player for Brian Kelly when Brian Kelly coached at the University of Cincinnati. And Ben, from reading more about Mike Mickens, which I never really knew much about him, based on his coaching resume in his young career, it looks pretty impressive. And I think this is a pretty big hire.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And it's pretty exciting to bring in somebody, like you said, that knows Kelly very well. You know, I feel like that kind of stuff pays dividends because if you notice and look around like the college football world with other very successful programs, the guys that work together tend to know each other very well, and the guys that know each other very well tend to have a really good staff at the school that they work at together.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. And looking at Mickens' resume here, I mean, let's start from when he was as a player here, because I mean, look, I'll be the first to admit I don't remember everything. I didn't, 2007, 2008 when he was playing for Cincinnati. I didn't watch the Bearcats. Did you?
No, I mean not really. For me, I'm not a huge fan of any Cincinnati team, so I don't really pay much attention to them. I do remember when they had a good run. When they played Florida, I remember when they played Florida in what was that, the Sugar Bowl? When Tebow, it was Tebow's final year at Florida. So I remember that, and I remember them being a pretty good program. And I think that was actually Kelly's final. I think that was Kelly's final season.
Yeah, I think that's what brought him to us. Yeah.
So yeah, no, but I remember that, and that's really it. I saw him play. I saw him play Ohio State one time when I was still living in Ohio, but that was on TV and not in person. And that kind of what started them on the upward trend of becoming a decent program that could hang with just about anybody.
Yeah.
But I don't know a ton about Cincinnati as a program, so.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at Mickens as both. I have an article here that has both his resume as a player and a coach. And first off, this says a lot about him as a player. 2007 and 2008. Well, in the 2008 season in particular, he was a runner-up for the Thorpe Award, which, of course, as we all know, is the award given out to the best defensive back in college football. So
yeah,
a very, very high honor. So,
yes.
So a very talented player in his own right.
Right.
It doesn't say on here, but I'm not sure if he saw any time in the NFL or not. But regardless, I mean, let's just face it. Some guys are better. Some players are better in college than they are in the pros. I mean, that's
Yeah, we've seen it a lot.
But exactly. I mean, one of the best examples that sticks out to me is quarterback Eric Crouch. Remember him? University of Nebraska.
Yep.
He goes from Nebraska, winning the Heisman Trophy, trying to make it into the NFL as a wide receiver, and I don't even think he made. Well, first off, I don't even think he was drafted.
Yeah.
And I think he caught on with. Well, you're a Rams guy.
Used to be, yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
I know what you're talking about if you talk about the Rams.
Right. But I think he was with the Rams in preseason as a receiver, and I don't think he made it out of a preseason camp or training camp. I think he just went ahead and retired before even really getting started. But looking here at Mike Mickens' resume as a coach, I mean it's pretty impressive here for a guy that's only 32 years old. I mean, that's 2 years younger than me. But he was the corners coach for Idaho. Went to Bowling Green after that, and then he came back to his alma mater at Cincinnati. And this is the number that sticks out to me the most. This is the biggest resume builder, I think. So he comes to Cincinnati. He takes them from the pass defense efficiency. He takes them from 113 in the nation to number 15.
That's impressive.
In 2019. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. So here's how it goes. They were ranked 113 in 2017. He takes them to number 13 in 2018, and then 2019 they were 15. So notice those 2 years in particular, there's some consistency there.
Right. They are only moving up 2 or down 2, so that's not bad at all.
Yeah. So my bad. I misread that here. There was a misprint in the article. But if that doesn't get you excited as an Irish fan alone, based on those numbers, and and considering the fact that we already have talent in place, then I don't know what could get you excited.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and also the other thing I think that it's good, a positive to take away from it is the fact that he's 32. So now you have 2 coaches on the staff that are in their 30s. I mean, Tommy Rees and now Mike Mickens.
Well, actually, Tommy Rees is only 27.
Right. So, I mean, I should have rephrased that a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, both of them are young, and they will have a more – I don't know the right word for it. They will be able to be understanding of the players more than older guys like Kelly.
Yeah. See, Brian Kelly, he'd be more like a parent to these guys, whereas Mike Mickens and Tommy Rees, they'd be more like a big brother. Because they're closer in age to these guys that are on the team. They can relate to them more.
Right.
So, but that has me excited because I mean I thought our defensive backs played pretty decent last season, but no disrespect to Todd Light. I mean I don't know what Todd Light left the program for. I don't know if he took another job elsewhere. It just said that he was wanting to go back to California with his family, which Todd Light in his own right did pretty well. I mean,
yeah,
he has an 88 national championship ring from that team. So what more needs to be said? But from what this article was also saying, and this could also be a major factor as well, but they were saying that Todd Light wasn't as great a recruiter as Mickens is.
Yeah.
So maybe that goes back to what we were talking about Mickens being younger and him being able to relate with these guys. So
yeah.
So it could give us a chance to bring in some very talented defensive backs out of high school, which I'm not saying that they haven't done that already. Just it could intensify it.
Yep. I totally agree. And another thing I think people need to remember is, like you said, recruiting is another huge aspect of college football. And I mean, if you want to be great, like the Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio States of the world, you have to have consistently good recruiting classes. Now, just because you have consistently good recruiting classes doesn't mean you're going to have a good record. I mean, Florida State and Tennessee have both proven that, but it's a step in the right direction. You
have to be able to coach these guys and do it properly. So it goes back to coaching as well. You have to bring out the best in these guys and truly develop them, which I'm not saying that we've failed at doing that.
Right.
But I'm speaking in general that you have some coaches out there who get this elite talent and they really don't know what to do with them because they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not talking in particular about Brian Kelly. I'm just saying.
Right. Yeah, no, I totally agree.
And but also another big factor too is this this goes back to what we were talking about. I think it was in our actually no, it was our last episode that we did talking about getting over that hump.
Yep.
So having the right personnel in there, that's another key factor, I think, too, in helping us get over that hump.
Right.
So all I know is this was definitely a big hire for the Irish. And then also, who was the other one? McNulty, who was brought on to as tight ends coach, or
Yeah, that sounds right.
I think I could be butchering his name there, and if I am, I apologize. Um, so two big hires that I think could really help us out. Now the one thing that I'm looking for next, and I think I did mention this in the last episode as well, is I'm waiting to see for sure what they do with the offensive line. Are they going to?
I agree.
Are they going to stick with? I think it's Jeff Quinn, or is Jeff Quinn? I think he's coaching the tight ends now, isn't he?
I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know good.
Yeah.
I don't know enough. I don't want to say something wrong. Yeah. I'd have to look up that. Let me look that up real quick.
Well, that's why. See, that's why to everybody who's watching this episode right now, that's why I'm using terms like I think and I'm pretty sure. Because you don't exactly like Ben said. You don't want to say something wrong, and
let's see here. Okay, this most recent thing on that. Okay, so ND coaching staff. Tom, yeah, okay, it looks like it's updated because Tommy Reese is the offensive coordinator. Okay, so Jeff Quinn is offensive line currently. John McNulty, like you said, tight ends coach. And then of course Clark Lee, defensive coordinator. Mike Elston, defensive line, and then the new hire Mike Mickens, cornerbacks. Terry Joseph, safeties. Brian Poulion, special teams / recruiting coordinator, and he's been doing a phenomenal job at recruiting.
Yes.
So yeah, no, you were right.
See, the offensive line. That I think that was really the only true weakness that we had last year.
So
you were cutting up there a little bit. I think the lagging's starting to kick in.
Darn it. So yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the offensive line, because that is something that we said and harped on in the last video about trying to get over that hump. So hopefully that all this kind of snowballs and creates an even bigger winning atmosphere, because we're winning. We're doing what we need to do, but now the standard the bar for the standard is getting raised again, because now we consistently do 10-win seasons. So now it's time to take the next step. Yes. And the next step is getting into the playoffs consistently and making a run for the national title.
Yeah, and actually winning these playoff games.
So that's the next step.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll say this much: I know Harry Heastand. I'm pretty sure he's still looking for a job. So I wouldn't mind seeing him back. But if they go a different direction, I can understand that too.
Yeah.
So moving right along here to the next topic we have in store for this video, or for this episode, I should say. We haven't really talked a lot about it, and I know that on my own channel I've never really talked about this, just because in myself personally, I don't know the game of basketball like I do the game of football. But it's only fair, since we're a Notre Dame channel, we talk a little bit about some Notre Dame basketball as well. And Notre Dame men's basketball, I got to tell you, first off, all the games that they lost, despite yesterday that thrashing they took from Duke, this season and all the one-possession losses that they have, it's been ridiculous.
And brutal.
I mean, they had the 1-point loss to Virginia just last week, and really the only other terrible loss that they had on their schedule was the season opener against North Carolina. But even that wasn't horrible.
Yeah.
It wasn't 34. I think. Well, let's see. I think we lost to Duke by 34 yesterday or something like that.
That was pretty ridiculous.
But even that opener against North Carolina, that was only by like 9 or 10. So it's not. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't horrible, no. But a loss like yesterday is something that could really kill a team spirit.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, I think this is one of the first points in Mike Bray's tenure as the Irish head coach that he's had to rebuild a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And because there's just, let's see, the standout guys right now, I would say, would be Rex Pfluger,
yep,
Dane Goodwin, and oh, what's the other kid's name? T.J. Gibbs.
Mm-hmm.
T.J. Gibbs. There's probably another one that I'm missing, but the point that I'm getting at is they don't have that one standout like they did with in recent memory, like with Bonzie Colson and Pat Connaughton and Jaron Grant and Steve Vastoria, the babyface assassin, when they were making those runs at the
Yep.
Final Four in the not too distant past. But that's the thing with Mike Bray, though, is he has always had the talent to take. Because let's face it, Notre Dame don't get a lot of these one and done guys.
No, they don't. No.
And the main reason for that is because, well, Notre Dame, as much of a rich history that they have in basketball, like with Digger Phelps and all that, they're a football first school. Let's just face it. Of course.
Yeah.
So not many of these elite basketball players are going to want to come to Notre Dame. But Mike Bray is that good of a coach that he can take anybody and bring out the best in them.
Right.
I mean, at the time when, let's see, I think it was like 2010, 2011. Remember when they upset Syracuse, #1 Syracuse?
Mm-hmm.
That was a nationally televised game on ESPN, and that was around that was around the time when Connaughton and Grant, they were there, but they hadn't hit their stride. They hadn't peaked yet. They hadn't gotten to that high level.
Yep.
But
yeah.
all I know is Jack Cooley was your center, and I remember that game in particular. They were kind of right at where they are now. Like a 15-10 record, a subpar record in conference play. At that time, it was still the Big East.
Yep.
They win that game over Syracuse, and then they pull off, what was it, like 8 or 9 straight wins going into the ACC or the Big East tournament at the time.
Yep, they were on a roll.
And I think they ended up losing in the second round of the tournament, or
Something like that.
Or maybe it was the year they lost either Winthrop or Old Dominion in the first round. But still, all I'm saying is that shows you Mike Bray's ability as a coach to bring out the best in these guys that aren't exactly elite, but he can turn them into a really good basketball team.
Right. Well, yeah, and we've seen that. We've seen that happen in basketball with other programs. I mean, look at how good Wichita State was for a number of years. And it wasn't like they were getting the Zions of the world. They were getting normal, average Joe players that knew how to play the game of basketball together and could go out and they could compete with anybody. I remember when Wichita State beat Kansas. I remember that. That was insane.
Yeah.
And when they went on deep tournament runs and stuff. And like I said, these guys, none of the guys were projected to get drafted in the NBA. None. Just insane. So, yeah, and like you said, Mike Bray has done a phenomenal job with that. I think this year, what hurts this year is the fact that they play in the ACC. It hurts. I mean, you're going to play Duke, you're going to play North Carolina, you're going to play Syracuse, you're going to play, I mean, you're in one of the most strongest conferences for basketball, period.
Yeah, exactly.
When average to below average, this is how it's going to go. And you're not going to have the easy wins.
No.
And this season, with yesterday's loss to Duke, the way we lost, I mean, if we would have lost by 8 points or less to Duke, I could see us still being on the fringe of maybe getting into the NCAA tournament. With that 34-point loss to Duke, there's no way. There's no way. We'll be in the NIT this year.
And you hate saying that.
Mike Bray has created a winning culture there, so now it's like we're kind of taken aback that Notre Dame's not going to be in an NCAA tournament, and that's a good thing. I mean, it's a good thing that Mike Bray has gotten us to the point where an NIT is a disappointing season for us.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, of course, I'd still watch them even if they make the NIT, because that's what a true fan does. But it's just like...
What I'm saying is that it's nice to have a really good standard. And so a down year for Notre Dame as a basketball program is the NIT as opposed to the NCAA tournament.
Well, exactly. I mean, we're not used to having – I mean, like I said, Digger Phelps, that was a different story with the man. How long was he at Notre Dame for? Like 25 years, something like that.
Yeah, something crazy.
Yeah, he was there for a long time, and then I think he was out. He was out in '91. That was his last season, and then for about 10 years until Mike Bray came in. I think Mike Bray's first season was like 2000. I think. So about 9-10 years there, nobody gave a damn about basketball at Notre Dame.
Right.
But the fact that there are now expectations
Right.
back for this basketball program, that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. I mean, like you said, if we made the NIT, we were just happy to be in a postseason tournament. Now there's expectations. There's there's hope, I guess you could say, in a stereotypical movie fashion kind of way. There's hope.
Right.
But
Right. We've gone, like you said, from a football-dominated college to a multi-sport college where we're competing at the highest level for national titles. I mean, we've seen it with football, we've seen it with basketball on both the men's and the women's side, seen it with lacrosse, and we've seen it with fencing. And currently, technically, if you want to get super nitpicky with stuff, the best program right now at Notre Dame is fencing. We're sending 3 people to the Olympics. So, I mean, we're really dominating in a lot of sports as opposed to just one legit sport that's football.
Well, let's not forget too the hockey team.
And
they're making runs at
has made that jump.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they're making runs at the Frozen Four. I think they actually made it to the Frozen Four one year in recent history.
Yep.
So
they played for a national title. They had a chance to win the whole darn thing.
Yeah.
The other year. So, and they lost to a powerhouse. I mean, they lost to Minnesota, and Minnesota is a very, 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 very good program when it comes to hockey.
Oh yes.
So
that's the hockey capital of America, the state of Minnesota.
So yeah, no, it's nice. It's impressive, and Notre Dame as a whole has really, really stepped up their game. And the ACC is a very, very good conference for basketball and lacrosse. So to say that we're competing in both of those sports at a very, very high level against teams is very admirable.
Yeah, it is. It is. They're making a great effort to take it to that next level. And it's nice to see that Notre Dame is not just – I mean, football will always be number one, but it's nice to see that everything else is getting recognition too and coming up. And But going back to basketball, in this particular season, I'm not trying to be critical because I know these guys are playing their hearts out. They're giving it all they have. I mean, the schedule shows that. So they may be like 15-10 right now, and I'm not
15
sure
officially after yesterday's loss.
I'm not exactly sure what the conference record is. Like maybe subpar or right at 500. I don't know, but the record doesn't indicate how well this team has played. Meaning all those close losses, but still a loss is a loss, whether it's by 1 or by 50.
Right.
But I think with this season in particular, from what I have been able to see, because watching Notre Dame basketball for me has been limited strictly to pretty much the weekends because I work nights during the week.
Both of us work nights, yeah.
And so I haven't really been able to watch them as much as I'd like to. But from what I've seen, it just isn't like the teams that we've seen recently that have been shooting for the Final Four, making those runs at it, but just losing in the Elite Eight. They don't seem to have that one player that just brings it all together.
Yeah.
They have some good players, but just not that one that stands out like Jaren Grant or like the captain Pat Connaughton, who I guess at the NBA All-Star game in the dunk contest didn't whoever announced him, I forget who it was, didn't he almost not know how to pronounce his last name?
Yeah.
I forget, some rapper, I think, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but he had a phenomenal showing last night. I mean, it was a lot of fun seeing him do his thing. And did you see the shout out to White Men Can't Jump?
No, I didn't. I don't watch the NBA anymore, dude. I've lost a lot of interest in it in recent years.
Well, you're a Bulls fan, so it doesn't help at all. You
Well,
know,
no, I don't even really watch the Bulls anymore. I don't really watch any of them.
and it doesn't help at all. The Bulls have just been so subpar.
Yeah,
You know,
well, that's true. That's true. But I don't watch for other reasons. But I'm not going to get into that here.
yeah. Well, yeah. But no, it's cool to see Pat Connaughton doing well. And Milwaukee, they are having a hell of a season. They look like they could win the whole darn thing. And I was talking to one of my buddies at work, and I was saying, if Milwaukee wins the whole thing with Pat Connaughton, I'm buying his jersey and framing it from Milwaukee. Because I that's what I do. I have respect for all these players that come out of Notre Dame. So I try to get guys that actually did something with their career as opposed to just like right now, a couple of my favorite players from the football team are in the NFL, but I'm going to wait until they actually have a legit career as opposed to like just going and buying their jersey immediately.
Yeah.
Especially since I'm not a fan of that team.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm a fan of the Miami Heat. So I'm not going to just buy the jersey to buy the jersey. I'm going to buy it if Notre Dame is represented well.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It makes sense.
So,
but with Connaughton in particular, I'll never forget it. He was a late second round draft pick, if I'm not mistaken, and I remember that was by the Portland Trail Blazers.
mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget reading an interview that he gave just after he was drafted. He said that one of the first things that he bought with his money was I think like a brand new Jeep. And
Yeah.
he said that the main reason for that was because this might be his only NBA contract. He's like, so he's treating himself before he has to give up basketball and get a real job. He worded it differently.
Yeah, it's just fun. Yeah.
But yet, here he is. I think he's now on his second contract.
Yeah.
I think. I could be wrong about that.
Hard work. It's hard work. I mean, and he's put it in, and he's looked good. I mean, he's done what he's had to do to be invited to the dunk contest.
Yeah. But it's just impressive, though, because I think, what is it? I think the average NBA career is what, less than 4 years?
Yeah.
So that's really only, like Connaughton said, that's really only one contract.
Yep.
So that's where a lot of guys need to make the best of it. And like you said, he's putting in the work, and now here he is showing up in the All-Star game. Well, actually, maybe not the game itself, but the contest. Because I think you don't have to be on the All-Star team to be in the competition, do you?
I don't think so. It's a little different in the NBA than most other leagues. So yeah, I think that's correct. But I'm not a diehard NBA fan for a multitude of reasons. But one of the biggest ones is just recent years. It's been the same like two teams, and it's like, okay, I'm done. We get who's going to win this whole thing in a couple months. So
yeah.
So yeah, but
yeah, I really miss the days of Jordan and Pippen, and of course, because also the thing is too, guys are moving around like crazy in the world of sports, not just basketball. But I remember in particular the NBA back in when I was growing up in the '90s. That's when guys were actually staying put with their teams.
Oh my God, yes. I mean, Kobe was the last real big namer that stayed with one team. And
other ones that come to mind, Tim Duncan, a career Spur. Patrick Ewing, I think he was a career Knick, or did he go somewhere else at the end of his career?
I think but it was. I mean, he spent literally like 99% of his time with one team.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm not going to go get anal here and say like, 100%. No, if you spend the majority of your time with one team, then that's what you're known as. I mean,
Joe Montana didn't just play for the Niners. I mean, he had one or two other teams he played for.
Kansas City. He played 2 years for Kansas City, and that was it.
Yeah, so I mean, it happens. You get older, and teams don't want to keep you around anymore because they figure they could get a better player. It happens. I mean, it happens to the best of them. Clearly, it happens to the best of them. So,
but just back in the day, though, it was to continue with what I was saying. Yeah, there was more loyalty because the Bulls, it was Jordan and Pippen. With the Knicks, it was Oakley and Ewing. Seattle Supersonics, it was Gary Payton and Sean Kemp and Hersey Hawkins. It was Barkley with Well, come to think of it, Barkley went pretty fast because he started with the 76ers and then he left for the Suns.
Yeah.
But still, it was Larry Johnson with the Hornets, and these guys actually, Malone and Stockton with the Jazz. So what I'm saying is these guys stuck around, and then come All-Star Weekend, I would actually look forward to it because these guys would actually be competitive even in the All-Star game. They would
Right.
they would foul hard. They would play hard. Yeah, I actually enjoyed watching it. But now it's just all it's a circus now.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I think we've said all we had to say about Notre Dame basketball and whatnot. But it's just this year is just one of those years where you just do the best that you can with what you have going for you, and just hopefully Bray brings in some recruits that can I gotta be honest with you, man. I'd love to see us one time get some of these one and done guys, just to see what it would be like for us.
Yeah. I think the whole academic standard is a really big hindrance in that regard. I don't think you could get a lot of, no offense to them, but I mean you just couldn't.
Well, it's just when you go to a major university like Notre Dame or anywhere else, to play basketball or to play any sport for that matter, your mind's focused solely on that. I mean, let's face it, that's what you're there for. You're there to play the sport that you were recruited for. So I'm not saying that academics isn't important. Of course it is, but I'm just being real here. That's what those guys are there for. And I mean,
I agree. I agree.
And it sounds. I hear myself saying that, it sounds horrible. It sounds bad. But
Well, yeah, but I mean, okay, think about those guys too. I mean, on their end of it. Okay, when they pick schools, when these guys pick a school to go to, they're not picking a school because it's X, Y, and Z. They're picking a school that will give them the best chance to A, win, and B, push them or propel themselves into NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, wherever. So,
well, how many times have you heard a recruit say, like, on signing day when they make their announcement and they're asked the question, well, what drew you to the school? I mean, yeah, of course they're going to say, well, it's a great program known for its football tradition. But have you ever heard any of them say, yeah, they also have a great science department too? That really caught my attention.
Right.
Do you ever hear them say anything like that?
No.
Now, of course, if I ever heard a recruit that went to Notre Dame say, now what really caught my eye was what's the business school there? What's it called? It's off the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, I'm looking it up. I'm going to feel like a complete idiot when I see this. What is it called? Mendoza. I knew it was called that. Why I couldn't think of it, I don't know. But now if a recruit mentioned the Notre Dame Mendoza School of Business, that I wouldn't be surprised at, because that school I think has produced 20 presidents of top Fortune 500 companies.
Yeah.
Or CEOs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they mentioned that. But yeah, your average top recruit, they're not going to be like, yeah, I heard some great things about their history or their science department. No, not going to happen.
Right.
But
when the average student goes there, yes. I mean, it's like, oh well, the reason I chose Notre Dame over whoever, is this. But yeah, no.
Yeah, they're not talking about their major and stuff on their recruiting day. No. But yeah, I would have to say that academics do play a big part in it, and not saying that some guys are stupid or anything like that, but Notre Dame does have a high standard,
A very high standard.
and I think that's a good thing too, because you want you want your guys to succeed both on and off the field, which I can admire that definitely.
Right.
But I mean, let's face it, they're there to play the sport that they went there for, not
Right.
But actually, it's funny. I forget who it was, but there was he was a running back that played for the Dolphins, but I don't think he started his career there. But he was interviewed. Who was it? It was a really interesting interview. Maybe it was no, I don't know. I don't know if it was Jay Ajayi or however you say his name.
Jay Ajayi.
Yeah, Ajayi. Well,
He played for Boise State.
well, no, I'm not talking about Notre Dame, but there was an NFL running back. I forget who gave this interview, but he said in this interview, I think it was on some podcast that he was on. And tell me what you think of this idea. But he said they were talking about the idea of paying college athletes. They were talking about that issue. And actually, you know what? I think it was Arian Foster.
Okay,
I think it was Arian Foster. Because I think he finished his career with Miami, didn't he?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty sure it was Arian Foster because they were in this podcast. They were talking about that issue about paying college athletes, and he made the comment saying, "Man, if I knew then what I knew now, I never would have played football." And I guess like a lot of people, a lot of different guys, he probably felt screwed and this and that, whatever. But that's beside the point. One of the things that he mentioned in this interview was this, and tell me what you think about this. He said that if colleges don't want to pay their athletes, then what they should do is make football a major, or any sport that an athlete plays. Make that a major. And and when I first heard this, I'm thinking, what do you mean make it a major? But then he goes more in depth to it. He says, you don't just play the game of football. You learn everything about it. You could take courses and learn how to be a coach, how to be a team owner, general manager, and so on. So if they don't want to pay the athletes to play the game, then make it a major and have them learn all these courses about it. What's your take on that?
Huh. Well, I don't know. I don't like that idea. And the reason I don't like that idea is because you would then have to hire people that would actually have experience in that. And how many of those coaches would want to be a professor?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
It's okay, to me, and I hate saying it this way. But it's okay, when you see, and I know that Notre Dame has a huge program with this, when you see people teaching business, to me it's okay, well, you never really made it as a businessman, so now you're teaching it. So to me, it's the same with football. Well, you never really made it as a coach, so you're going to go teach it. Because if it was me and I had the choice between being an NFL or college coach, whether it be running backs or head, or being a professor at Notre Dame, which would I choose? And then can you honestly tell me that these little schools would actually do that? I mean, you're telling me Bowling Green would have a course on football?
No, but then again, at the same time, there's not all colleges have the same programs. For example, I don't think Notre Dame has an engineering department. I don't think so anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I would think that they would, just because of how prestigious they are. But
yeah. Well, it's I know for a fact they don't have a law school.
Who? Notre Dame?
Notre Dame.
Oh, we have a law school.
Notre Dame does?
Yeah.
Shows you how much I pay attention.
Yeah, no, they have a legit law school. It's actually a pretty high standard law school.
I don't know.
But yes, I know. I mean, there are some. Yes, I've seen. When we were younger, the way that people transferred, it's way different now, transferring wise, than it was. People would have to find a college that had something that the college that they currently were at didn't have.
Yeah.
So could academically transfer to there and then take those courses and then be academically eligible to play football.
Yeah. And,
So,
and that's my point, is not the way it could work is if you're a big name school that has big time college football.
right.
Now, obviously, because let's face it, I mean, not all schools have communications, not all schools have medical, not all
Right.
schools have law. That's the point that I was trying to get at.
Right.
I guess that's something I'm gonna have to look up with that on the own school that I follow, is what programs they have and don't have.
Yeah.
So
But that whole pay players thing, it's such a mess because you can make arguments like so many different ways, and I don't know.
Well, it could go either way, because the athletes themselves are putting in all that extra work, but at the same time, if they're on full scholarship, then the university's paying for everything for them.
Right.
They're not having to pay a dime. So those arguments can go both ways, but I wasn't trying to start a debate about that. I just wanted to ask your opinion on what Arian Foster said about making sports.
And he's always been pretty outspoken about stuff too. Just record.
Yes, he has.
So I mean, he's he really created some shockwaves when he came into the NFL. Yeah, I don't know. It would be. I mean, I know like school. Kinesiology is coaching, basically.
You froze up.
So
you froze up.
I mean, I do know.
I didn't hear that first part, bud.
Like most schools that are decently big offer kinesiology as a major, and that is like coaching and everything like in the sports realm.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, if that's the case, then maybe you should go with that major as opposed to a business major or a psych major or,
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
So I don't. But because my one roommate, he was actually in kinesiology when I was in college. His major was kinesiology. So that was that. So I don't know. It's interesting that Arian Foster said that, and it does make you kind of think about it, which is good because that's why you bring that up. You want to create not a debate, but like a discussion and make people think about this said subject.
Well, they're new ideas too.
Right. So I don't know. There's so many things with that I could see it both ways. That I don't know.
Well, I'm sure that podcast, whichever one he said that on, this has been like a few years ago, but I'm sure it's still out there somewhere. So yeah, go check it out if you're able to sometime.
I'll have to see what he said.
But anyway, yeah. So moving right along to the last topic of this episode, got to talk about Week 2 of the XFL. Now the second round of games are going on right now. It's in the second quarter, and right now it's scoreless between Dallas and Los Angeles. But yesterday we saw some interesting activity. First off, we got our first shutout in this revival of the XFL. 27-0, the Defenders over the New York Guardians. And Matt McGloin, very, very outspoken on his feelings with yesterday's offensive game plan.
Yeah, he was. It's interesting.
And he ended up getting benched for what's his name, Williams, who used to play at North Carolina. I think that's what his name was.
The XFL, man, they're not putting up with crap in the XFL, man.
No.
Like, oh, you want to talk? Go sit.
Well, he should definitely have known better, considering the fact that there are cameras everywhere. I mean, for God's sakes, they're talking to a guy who just missed a field goal. So you should definitely know that they're going to come talk to you when you talk shit about your offensive coordinator and your head coach's game plan.
Yeah. Well, did you see? Speaking of XFL, did you see that one coach was like, "Oh, I didn't know that they were going to reveal that much stuff," and it's like, how do you not know that? Like
You granted, maybe they didn't have coaches hired right away, but you had at least a year to know that they were going to be doing this.
And the inner mechanisms of everything.
Come on. It's... Hey, what are you, living under a rock? You didn't read the rule book? You didn't talk to anybody? You didn't... Come on, you know this.
Right.
You know that they're going to be doing sideline interviews during the game. And look, I mean, just because Vince McMahon is focusing more on football doesn't mean that he's not going to leave some edginess in there.
Right.
Give you the raw deal, the raw scoop on things.
Yep. So, how excited are you about that Battlehawks game today?
Well, I can see that the odds makers aren't giving us a favorable look, that's for sure. I think they're projecting us to lose this game by at least 20.
Yeah.
But, it makes sense, though, because in Week 1, the Roughnecks, they had a pretty damn good game. That P.J. Walker in particular, I mean, what did he finish with? Like, I think he finished with, 272 yards and 4 touchdowns. And, let's face it. I mean, against Dallas, that Battlehawks offense had a little hard time getting things going at different times of the game. It kind of took them a little while to get going. But thankfully, their defense stepped up and took care of business. Yeah,
to me, it's fire meets steel in this game.
Yeah, and the thing is, Jordan Tiamu, he has the skills to get it done.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He looked good last week. I mean, like you said, it took a little bit of time to get the ball moving, but when he was in some hard situations and pressure situations, he got it done. So it'll be interesting to see. And they made a good point. The one announcer, I don't know his name, I can't remember it, but he made a really good point. Tiamu is really the only legit running quarterback in the XFL right now.
Yeah.
So defenses really have to be on high alert when they go up against him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, those scrambling quarterbacks, I mean, they're always a bitch to go up against. I mean, it kind of reminds me of, when we were playing against Michigan back in the early 2010s with
Denard Robinson.
Yeah, Denard Robinson. How much of a bitch was he?
Yeah.
He was a bitch to go up against. Hated playing against him.
Yep.
But Tiamu, it's no different. Now again, like I said, last week was first game jitters for everybody.
Well, yeah, nobody had film on anybody either.
Yeah, there's nowhere but up to go for this league, and in particular the Battlehawks. I mean, I think they have the potential to get one of the 2 spots in the Eastern Conference.
Yep.
And honestly, I think when it's way too early to tell right now, but I think when it's all said and done, I think in the East it'll be DC and the Battlehawks.
Yeah.
And
he's looking good, man.
Yeah.
But see, they got Cardell Jones. So.
Well, he's also another potential scrambler too.
Yeah.
When he has to be, but.
Right.
But
yeah.
He's definitely more of a passer than he is a runner. I can tell you that much. But yeah, going back to yesterday's slate of games, the Tampa Bay Vipers, man. I think just one game they let their defensive coordinator go.
Yep.
But I guess he can't complain. He got one paycheck out of it.
Right. Well, they haven't scored a touchdown yet. The Vipers.
Did they get on the board yesterday?
Yeah, they lost by not. They scored 9 points yesterday.
Okay, I missed that game.
Well, let me see here. Let's more standings. Yeah, let's see.
See, because I know. See, here's the thing. We were gonna film yesterday, but something came up, and so I had something that I had to take care of, and I missed the Vipers and who'd they play yesterday? The
Seattle Dragons.
The Dragons. Yeah, I missed that one, but I saw the first game between the Guardians and the Defenders, and I watched all that stuff unfold with Matt McGloin.
Yeah, because the Vipers scored 3 points their first game, and they scored 9 points this game. So it's like, hey, have you actually scored a touchdown yet?
Yeah, I don't think they have scored a
You actually
touchdown.
scored a touchdown or not?
I guess I could. Well, I guess I could look up the box score real quick.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I went through the app, and the app didn't really give me much. So.
See, this is one thing I definitely like about filming videos on the desktop again instead of out in my car like I used to do on my other channel. Is I can actually look stuff up as I'm doing the video. Because when you're filming on your phone, you can't do that. At least not that I know of.
They did not score a touchdown.
Okay, so they were all field goals.
So they have not scored a touchdown yet in the XFL.
That's not good. Not good. I saw a meme yesterday that said I think this was on the XFL Facebook page. Someone posted a meme that said the Tampa Bay Vipers are the Cleveland Browns of the XFL.
Yeah, I can see it.
That's brutal. That is absolutely brutal.
Snake bit, and no pun intended.
Yeah. It's just granted, like I said, everything's new. They're trying to get things going, but the Vipers.
Who do the Vipers have as their coach?
Mark Trestman. Mark Trestman.
I'm sorry, Sean. I had to say it.
Well, like you and I were saying, I think we said this off camera, but Mark Trestman, his first year with the Chicago Bears, phenomenal offense. They did great. I loved watching it. But then there's a little something called film, and the next year everybody picked up on it.
Yep.
Maybe
so kind of like what's going on with Nagy right now in the Bears.
I have something that I want to tell you, but I want to try to keep this somewhat of a family show.
I think I hear what you're saying.
It'd be nothing but bleep 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 you bleep and bleep. I'm trying really hard. Put it this way, I'm trying hard to avoid F-bombs. Now they're saying there's a lot of shows on regular cable TV that are saying shit. Which okay, we'll let that go. That's fine. But I'm gonna try to avoid the F-bombs.
Yeah.
That's my personal goal. But getting back to off the joke, and you're right though. You're right. It's been for the Bears in particular. It has been rough. A lot of people are hard to please. I can tell you that much.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Yeah. So back to the XFL. No, it's interesting. And yeah, like you said, the Battlehawks aren't given much of a benefit of the doubt for going this week, but anything can happen. It's football, man.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
From what I understand, don't quote me, but from what I understand, those players have been talking amongst themselves like, look, nobody's giving us a chance in this game. Let's go prove everybody wrong.
Damn right. That's what I'd do.
That's good motivation. So we'll see. I think that defense is going to give Houston some fits, and I think that Houston offense is going to give our defense some fits. So
well, and granted, last week in the season opener against the Dallas Renegades, I know a lot of people could make the argument that it was because Landry Jones wasn't playing, and I don't think he's playing in this game, is he? Doesn't.
He was slated to start, but I don't know if he did start.
Well, they're on offense. What's his number?
18, I think it is.
Okay, they got a number 12 there in quarterback right now, and it's for the
yeah,
record,
he's 12.
For the record, it's 3-0 LA right now.
He has had 17 completions of 24 attempts, 177 yards, with a long of 29. Currently for Landry Jones.
Oh, okay, so he is playing, but it just looks like they have someone else in there right now. Because I got the game on. See, I have Hulu, but it's not on. The game's not on the Hulu that I have, so I don't have Hulu Live. I'm waiting to see the back of the jerseys here. But they got a number 12 in at quarterback right now. So,
according to this, he's the only quarterback that's played for the Renegades today.
Okay, maybe that is him then. But all I know is that obviously it wasn't him last week though.
No, he didn't play a single snap last week.
But anyway, we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, regardless, even though the Battlehawks defense didn't face Landry Jones, they still did a great job.
They were bend but didn't break.
Yeah, and then the offense stepped up when they needed to, and they got the job done. And I'd like to think they could do that against Houston at 5 o'clock tonight.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, I remember texting you, or no, you texted me that we need to stop. We need to get a stop here or whatever, and it was like red zone time for the Renegades, and then the Battlehawks defense stood strong and got that stop that they needed. So, hopefully, like you said, they can use that and do that in this. In this game.
Yeah.
But I'm excited. I mean, it just being from the St. Louis area and knowing people and seeing people. So like when I see people post in that Facebook group, I recognize all like the places they're talking about, like the cities and stuff. Like, St. Charles, Missouri has Battlehawks gear at this location, and this location. So it's really neat to see like people rallying around this team.
Yeah.
And I posted on my personal Facebook page, people say that sports don't belong in the world. And I have seen so many positive things come out of the fact that St. Louis has a new football team.
Yeah.
With the Battlehawks, and just in 2 weeks.
Oh, well, here's the thing. Even though they're on the road in Houston tonight and they don't play their first home game till next week, it's already sold out.
Right.
And granted, also, it's probably not going to look the greatest because right now in all the stadiums that they play in, they're only selling certain areas. I think it's really only the lower bowl, I think.
Yeah.
Now, granted, DC plays in a soccer stadium, so that might be an exception.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure, the first Battlehawks home game is already sold out. And I think on the black market, the scalpers market, those tickets, from what I hear, are selling for ridiculous amounts of money.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's absolutely right though. I mean, when you're in a city that lost its football team back out west, yeah, it's gonna rally a city. But even so, with other things, sports can rally a community.
Right.
I mean, look at whenever there's been a tragedy, what do people usually turn to? The sports teams.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when the Boston bombings happened, everybody turned to the Bruins.
Yep.
And 9/11 happened. Everyone turned to the Yankees and the Giants and the Jets and so on. But it's not just tragedies either. I mean, growing up where I grew up in Geneseo, Illinois, that little town revolves around a football team that people can get behind.
Yep.
Now, granted, I think people back home take it a little too serious.
Well, yeah, but when you got that, I mean.
But it's passion. You have to admire the passion.
Look at BVD with his high school team that he's into.
Yeah, the Green Devils of Greenville, Tennessee.
So I mean, some people it is what it is. I mean, my one coworker, he lives outside of a big city here in Illinois. I mean, when I say big, not huge, but big. And the people there are super into that team, that community. So it is what it is. I mean, for better or for worse, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So
the only problem I have with it is when people start taking it a little too serious and.
Well, yeah. I mean, and these guys are kids. I mean,
well, yeah.
The high school and college, these guys are kids, and you should treat them as such. They're off limits.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but all I know is overall, sports are definitely a good thing, and they do belong in society. I mean, yeah, people could argue that with us guys in particular, it just gives us a boost for our ego and our testosterone levels.
Yeah.
But that's just competitive spirit, though.
Right.
I don't know what testosterone has to do with that, but
women are competitive too.
Yeah, exactly. Do you remember prom back in high school?
Yeah.
Oh, that's when I saw a lot of female competitiveness for sure. Okay, that was me being an asshole, but yes, I've seen a lot of women get competitive on the playing field for sure. So,
Yeah.
but no, the bottom line is sports are a very good thing for society, and that's not saying you have to be in them or like into them. You don't have to like them. Nobody's going to think any less of you for it, but they can be a good thing for people for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Ben, we just eclipsed the 1 hour mark, which I honestly didn't think we were going to do for this episode, considering we had to change things up a little bit. But I got to give ourselves a round of applause on that.
Heck yeah, we got it done. Knocked it out.
I mean, really, we only came into this episode with primarily 3 topics to talk about. So, and that was the Notre Dame football news this week, which wasn't really that much. Only one thing. Notre Dame basketball and the XFL, which I guess was kind of our filler, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
But that's a great thing, though, is when you get talking about different topics,
you can go on forever.
Oh yeah, well, so much more comes into it that's completely relevant to it. So, but yeah, dude, anything else you want to add before we wrap this video up? Anything you want to say? Anything funny? You got a joke to tell?
No, I got nothing. I'm out of content. Sorry.
All right. I got a joke to finish off with. That's an oldie but a goodie. Maybe you've heard of it, but real quick story joke. So there's this magician out on the streets one day with a donkey, and he's yelling to everybody, "Step right up, folks! See if you can make my donkey laugh and win $1,000." So this one hillbilly hears that, walks up and says, "All right, sir, I'll take a shot at making your donkey laugh." So he takes the donkey behind this alley that's nearby, and about a minute later, the hillbilly comes out and the donkey is cracking up laughing. The magician says, "How did you do that?" The hillbilly says, "Well, I'm not at liberty to say right now." So the next day, that same magician is back out with his donkey again. This time around, he's shouting, "Step right up, folks! See if you can make my donkey cry, and you'll get a $1,000 cash prize." Well, that same hillbilly is passing by, and comes up and says, "All right, mister, I think I can make your donkey cry." And he goes, "You again, huh? Well, all right, give it your best shot." So the hillbilly takes the donkey back to that same alley. About a minute later, the hillbilly comes out with the donkey, and the donkey is just crying like he's heard the worst news he's ever heard. And the magician says to this guy, "All right, you tell me right now, how did you do all this?" So the hillbilly says, "Well, yesterday when I made your donkey laugh, I told him that my manhood was bigger than his. Today when I made him cry, I showed it and proved it to him." And that's a joke for me going back to the 6th grade.
Oh my gosh.
Because I don't know if this is kind of grotesque, but I don't know if you've ever seen a donkey's manhood, but it takes some willpower to have one that's bigger than his.
Yeah.
All right, folks. I think that's a good spot to end this video. Give you a little laugh to end it. So with that, I am NDSean45.
I am IrishBenjamin57.
And for this episode, we are out. God bless, and as always, go Irish!
Go Irish!